Hey everybody, Ryan Madora here, and welcome back to another bass lesson. Today we are exploring funk bass lines, and in particular, we're learning how to play Fire by the Ohio Players. One of the great funk groups, and a super cool bass line that's hopefully going to be easy for you to learn, maybe a little challenging to play at first, but something that I believe you can definitely get under your fingers. So if you want to get tab or notation, anything like that to accompany this lesson, please head over to my Patreon page. You can find it there and support what we do here at this channel. And in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about this tune and about the construction of this bass line. So the reason why I like it is, first off, it's something that, like a lot of funk bass lines, creates a certain theme that we play over and over again that's super funky, and then we can do something else with it, like modulate it to a different place on the fretboard, to a different key, and that's exactly what we do here, where this song, if you listen to the first part of it, we're going to be playing in the key of C, and then as the song progresses later on, we shift it up a half step to C sharp. So we're going to learn how to modulate this bass line, but we're also going to talk a lot about the intervallic relationships here. So if you're learning something and you're using tab and stuff like that, that's cool, but you're kind of thinking about just where to put your fingers. You're not necessarily thinking about what the intervals mean. And that's a really important thing here with this kind of funk bass playing, because a lot of times we use the same group of notes or the same palette of notes, but we start to play with the register and moving those notes around from different octaves. And so if we know what that group of notes is and we can perceive where they are on the fretboard, it becomes a much easier bass line to play. So to begin, we're going to be playing in the key of C, and I'm going to orient myself here with this C, and then I'm going to play the octave. So I'm starting on the C on my 3rd fret, using my pinky to play the octave here on my G string. And while a lot of times we talk about positioning in terms of our 4-fret span, where maybe we play with our middle finger on the root note, and we kind of think about our major scale, that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do when you're playing an octave bass line. When you're playing an octave bass line, I usually like to begin with my my index finger instead of my middle finger, and then my pinky, because it just makes the octave shape a little bit easier and makes the string muting a little bit easier to control. So the hardest part about this bass line, honestly, I think, is the very first thing that we play, where there's a quick rhythm, basically 1E and, where we're doing 2 root notes and then the octave. And when we play this, I think it's great to kind of alternate with our plucking hand, where you want to start or lead with the finger that's going to play a root note, the opposite finger for that second root note attack, and then the original finger for the octave. So for instance, here I'm going to be playing with my middle finger, index, middle, so that my middle finger is the one that can kind of set itself up for that octave leap. So I'm going to go middle, index, middle with this hand. So having that octave leap and using the opposite finger for it is really important in terms of getting this technique down. So what I would do first is just practice doing that rhythm. Sounds easy, a little harder to play. But if you do it and you get it fast, it's going to sound really cool. The next thing we want to do is we want to talk about the palette of notes that we're using for this bass line. And what we're really going to do is focus primarily on scale degrees 1, scale degree 6 or our major 6th, and then using our flat 7 or our minor 7. So in the key of C, if I were to kind of walk up a major scale, A is going to be my 6, and then B flat is going to be my scale degree 7, my flat 7 or my minor 7. And this is like classic funk. Like so many bass lines use this 6 to flat 7 toggle. It's just like instant groove, instant funk. It's all over the place on these types of records. So when you hear this part, what we're really doing is we're doing our root to octave move, and then flat 7, 6, flat 7, or B flat, A, B flat. So if you think about it, it's pretty cool, not too crazy. And then we're going to find those same intervals lower. So again, before I mentioned using intervallic relationships, one of the big things that we're doing in this song is we're taking advantage of this kind of root flat 7 move and we're finding it higher, we want to find it lower as well. So then we put it together, we go root, octave, flat 7, 6, flat 7. Then we're going to jump down, root, flat 7, root. Our flat 7 is just a whole step below the root, so you can kind of see it here and here. Both of those places you should hear that you're playing exactly the same thing, just lower versus higher. Jump lower. And now we're going to jump back up, and we're going to do our flat 7, 6, flat 7 toggle again. And then we're going to end with the higher C. So and that's our part. So again, you can kind of see that we're really only using 3 notes. We're using C's, B flats, and A's, but the orientation in terms of where we find those and the jumping that we do is the thing that makes this bass line unique and really cool, and is honestly like a really good template for lots of funk grooves. So as you get this under your fingers, nice and slow first. We're actually going to take it up. I just modulated. I started playing the groove in C and then boop, popped it up, went up a half step to C sharp. And this is great because we've learned this with intervals instead of, tab or anything like that. We just took everything, shifted it up a half step. And if we can find those relationships in C sharp as opposed to C, then hey, all we have to do is see it on the fretboard, visualize it, take the same thing we just played, scooch it up a fret, and there we go, we have the bass line. So as you listen to this song, you're going to hear that it starts in C, and then later on it modulates up to C sharp, and that lift is just going to take us right here. We're going to play the bass line the same exact way, just in C sharp, so you're going to start here on the 4th fret, find your octave. Here's our flat 7, 6, flat 7, root, flat 7, root, lower, pop up again, flat 7, 6, flat 7, ending on this higher C sharp on the 6th fret here on the G string. So again, you can kind of see that we're taking the same part, we're just moving it up. And so I hope you found this lesson helpful. Know that it's a really great template for plenty of funk grooves, and that there are a couple things to focus on here as you practice, which is, understanding the intervallic relationships, hearing that key change, and then also kind of working on these technical things with this hand in terms of making sure that you can get those octave leaps and make them sound nice and clean. So again, if you want to get tab or notation, head over to my Patreon page and enjoy practicing this. Keep it groovy.